Hello, I'm just going over my progress on the dollhouse that I've been working on for the past 8 months. And these are pictures you've probably seen already in the community section. And this was when I just had the first floor done, and I put the trim in. And there's the first floor with the wallpaper and the floors in and all the trim. And this is the bathroom on the second floor, and I finished that. And everything's trimmed on the inside, but the outside trim hadn't been put on yet. And I hadn't put on the third floor at this point. And also the wallpaper buckled when I took this whole thing downstairs to work on it, but nothing I can do about that now. And here's one, the third floor's in, and I put some lighting in, and they're battery operated lights, and that's with the third floor, but it's not trimmed in the front. And I do change some of the lighting out. I make some of the lighting as well, and I'll show you that as we go along. And that's just the dollhouse before I took it back upstairs to work on it. I finished the trim in the front but hadn't painted it. This is not, the trim is not completely finished yet. I painted most of it. I noticed up on the top floor there's a few pieces that have to be painted. And I decided to fill the dollhouse at this point to see what everything was going to look like. I redid most of the lighting. Here's the attic foyer. I didn't make that light except for the lampshade, and I didn't make that little table or that chair or the balls of yarn in that wooden bowl that I picked up at an antique store. I made everything else though, even the banister on the staircase. And this is the third floor attic, and that rug is a velour rug. I made that light. It's made from a little battery light. And here's the sewing room, the 1930s wallpaper, and the 1930s linoleum floor I made. And all the notions on the table, except for the notion box and thread box. That's repainted from a Temu box I got. I put a dress on the dress form, and I repainted the sewing machine. I bought that at an antique store and repainted the whole thing. A little tomato I made, and the benches to sit on. Fabrics are fabrics I've had. I made the thread box on the top of that shelf, the ironing board and the iron. And the lights I purchased, but I painted. And they're two pendant lights that are battery operated that are hanging from a beam in the attic ceiling. The clock was one of the first things I made on this channel. Thought she needed a clock in that room. Here in the living room, I didn't make that light. I didn't make the light on the table, but I did make the shade. The little guy in the chair I bought, but I made his clothes. I made most of the furniture in this room. They're reproductions of Cage and Strombecker furniture. And so, just about all the furniture. I didn't make that vase either, but the flowers are milliner flowers, or antique milliner flowers that seem to fit. Pictures are from old photographs that I found and just framed with little things that I had laying around. The newspapers from the internet, reprinted. The rug is a lifted pattern from a 1930s rug. I made the radio on the right with the books too on top. I noticed that archway, I didn't even notice this before, but it's all hacked up. I'm going to have to go in and fill that and repaint that so it looks better. There's the dog I painted in another video. I didn't make the stairs, but I did make the runner after I painted the stairs. I put that on. It's just velour paper. I made the lights for this room. They're canister lights made out of black paper, black cardstock. There's a Strombecker clock in the back, or Cage, can't remember which, but that's very old. That's from the 1930s. The bench I made, and there's a video about that. And that's an actual Cage chair from the 1930s. And the wallpaper is actually also from the 1930s, but I reconfigured it so that I could use it for a dollhouse. It was wallpaper that I saw on the internet, and it really appealed to me, so I made it so I could actually wallpaper continuously all the walls in that room. And it's the foyer, by the way. I left that arch open. It's the only open arch in the dollhouse. But I thought it needed an arch like that for flow for the living room from the front door foyer. And there's the room again. I'm just going to take you for another tour around. I made his clothes, but I'm not satisfied with them. I just haven't gotten around to redoing it. I don't like the buttons, so I'm going to take those off and straighten the shirt out. But I did make those clothes for him. I didn't make that little bench either. That's quite old, but you can't see it. His feet are on it. Fireplace's cage that I reproduced. It's a reproduction that I made. And the paintings are mine. They're from my primitive series that I made that are quite large paintings. I just reduced them for the room. And that wallpaper also, that's actually reconfigured from 1930s wallpaper and made quite small. And I think I posted that on my blog spot. So if you want that wallpaper, you can go there and just grab it and print it off on your inkjet printer. And there's the foyer again. And that hacked up archway that I have to fix. But I'll get to it. There's a lot of touch-up work I'll have to do on this. The inside's essentially done, but there's touching up that has to be done. It seems like a never-ending process, though. It just, you do finish one thing, and then there seems to be something else that you have to do or fix. At least that's been my experience. It's been very, very satisfying, though. I've enjoyed doing this. And I've pretty much made that dollhouse up as I went along, and I finally got to the point where I've decided how best to do it. So I'm not going to have opening doors in the front. This is going to be more like a cabinet dollhouse with a roof and sides on it. But there won't be any windows. There's only one window in the whole place, and that's in the kitchen. And you see there. And I did that quite early on when I made the sink. I made all of the furniture except for that refrigerator and that little box under the dish shelf. I painted that. That was some block of wood I found, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I thought it would be a nice little addition to the kitchen, kind of like a kitchen cupboard. Of course, I didn't make the silverware or the dishes. That phone is actually, I made that as a reproduction of a phone that was from the 1930s, mid-1930s, that people would have in their homes. The canned goods and stuff are from the internet, printed off. The canisters I found at an antique store along with the pots and pans. I made that sink. It was my first sink. The lace on the tablecloth, the curtains, and the around the sink are the sink skirt, and the thing on that little box where the rooster is. That's all antique lace. And the rooster, I have a video about how to do that. Most of the furniture in here, there's a how-to video for. The little lamp on the table is quite old. It's hand blown. And of course I didn't make that light over the table. But I did make the lighting above the sink and the stove. I didn't make that light either above the bed, but I made all the furniture for this room. And the lamps and the pictures, everything but that little vase with the flowers in it. And it's all based, again, on the Strombecker cage dollhouse furniture of that time period. The lamp and those little perfume bottles were some of the first things I made on this channel. And that little dressing table and chair with the fabric around it. The wallpaper in this room is actual dollhouse paper. I found it in an antique store, a roll of it, and I had just enough for this room. I think I just have a few scraps left over. That stag is a little toy that I painted and put fingernail art on in triple thick, but there's a video on that too. Furniture is all balsa wood. The trim is actually wood trim, but it came with a white enamel on it, and I had to repaint most of it. Now, I didn't make any of the bathroom fixtures. The tub, the toilet, and the sink are actually all Strombecker, furniture from the 1930s. But I made the towel rack, the mirror, that little shelf, and the toilet paper roll, and the shelf above the toilet, and the rug. The little heater, the little steam heater on the side there. I found that in my stash. I don't know where I got it. I did make the light for the bathroom too, and the light for this room. All the furniture in this room, except for the little tiny chair I made. The tiny chair is a Strombecker chair, and it's a 1/16 size. I did the books. I printed them off and made them. Butterfly taxidermy, I have a video on that. I made the teddy bear, the bedding on the bed. The little fishbowl I bought on Amazon, I just couldn't resist it. I thought it was so cute. But the Popeye toy I made, it's based on a real 1930s toy. This wallpaper is actually from fabric. It's printed off of a piece of fabric that I made. The rug is a velour rug. The little animals I didn't make. I bought those, I think, online. But the barn I repainted. I found it's just a little block of wood. More books that I put together for the boy's bedroom. And he has this little friend with him, and there's a little video on how to make that duck rocker. The truck and the car are actual 1930s antique tin toys. And I made the horse and the little deer off to the right that you can hardly see that in this picture. Back up into the sewing room again, just to give you another view. The ribbons and notions are made from ribbon, and the notions are made from nail art, the buttons. That's fingernail art on cards. I don't know where that little dress came from. I'm trying to remember. I made the dress for him but thought it needed a dress, and I found it in my stash of doll clothes. So I can't tell you where that came from. It was probably in a bag that I purchased some time ago and just overlooked it because it was so tiny. The fabric on that ironing board, by the way, is Civil War era. And some of the fabric in that bookcase is Civil War era as well. And some of it's Liberty of London lawn cotton. And back through the foyer again, just to take a look. And you can see the stairwell goes down, and then it would have to turn and then go to the other stairs. So you have to use your imagination on that. There's an empty hole behind that. I did drop a few things down there, so I have to be very careful that I don't drop anything else down there and just lose it. I don't have a way to open it up. I can kind of reach my hand down in there, but it's a little bit too small of an opening to get too far in there. And there's the teenage girl's bedroom. I made all of the furniture in this room. The light is actually a light that was a chandelier like the one in the master bedroom that was broken, and I just fixed it up and put a new light in it. That's a lampstand that I bought, and then I put a shade on it, and it has a flickering light in it. The ballerina is actually a pin from the 1940s or 50s that's been repainted, and I used it as a wall decoration. And the frames are just molded in those picture frames you can buy anywhere, the picture frame molds. And the little doll, she's quite old. I repainted her and fixed up her clothes a little bit. But she reminded me of a teenage girl, maybe 17 years old from that time period, so that's why I've included her in this. And she has an attic bedroom. And there's the dollhouse so far as it stands. And my next project is to finish touching up the trim on the front and putting on the roof the sides, and a little chimney. But this will not have a closing front on it even. I'm just going to leave it open. Now here's just a sneak peek at another thing that I made. And this is going to be for the dollhouse. That's a log cabin. And it's a William and Mary 1730's reproduction of an actual chest that's sold at Sotheby's for something like $10,000. And I made it as close to the original as I could. And I will show how I made this in the next video that's coming up, along with a trestle table that I made for the kitchen in the log house that's coming, and how I made the teardrop handles and the little keyhole and the hinges that are on the inside, and how I painted this. So that will be the next video, and this is just a sneak peek, and I'll also have the trestle table and how to make that. And that will be for the log cabin again that I'm building. So thank you for watching, and I hope you will like and subscribe. And I will see you next week with a video on this and the trestle table. Bye-bye.